Hey, welcome to the Breakthrough series. I'm so excited to have my friend Katie on today. And before we actually start, I'm Meg, and I'm a self-sabotage and relationship coach. And this is like my COVID project. I'm really excited to talk about the behind the scenes stuff that nobody wants to talk about, the things that, we see people doing something we want to do out in the world and we think it just came instantly to them and that they came out of the womb just making things happen. And that's not always the case. So we're going to go through how to get through a breakthrough. We're going to go through Katie's battles. We're going to go through how she broke up with the bully and then who she's becoming now. So it's going to be really fun. Katie and I met, we were talking about this like almost 6 years ago at a mastermind through one of our friends, Brandon, who put it together. And yeah, we've kind of just been there for each other along the ride of figuring out this thing called life. So Katie, welcome to the interview series. I'm so happy you're here.
Awesome. Hey guys. Hey Meg. I'm pumped. I mean, this girl and I have been having conversations upon conversations for the past 6 years and celebrating really amazing times and talking through scary, crazy times. So this is just super fun. So thank you.
Yeah. So Katie, everybody wants to know, like, they want to be able to connect with you through the battle parts of your life. I personally know some of your battles. I think you're amazing for being able to get through those and continuing to find ways to have a breakthrough through those. Share with them some of the things that you've personally been through.
Yeah.
You want to share?
Which battle would you like to hear about? So I have been so blessed and to have some pretty interesting challenges. I think one that Meg, you and I resonate through was I was a gymnast growing up. I was an athlete, grew up in a very entrepreneurial driven family. I was starting to do competitive gymnastics at 7, 8 years old. And found myself dealing with some pretty intense, body image and food struggles, right? At a young point in my life, probably 12, 13, and experienced really what addiction in mine was food and what that looks like and how that played a role in my life, my relationships, and what it was like to really surrender to that. And then fast forward, I became a mama of my son, and I was on that journey on my own as a single parent, and was able to experience, just complete feeling of I don't really know what I'm doing. And as a single parent, there's a lot of things that show up around finances and being a woman and trying to navigate parenting solo and overcoming some just maps and beliefs that I had in my system. And I think that those 3 areas for me, it was body image and food issues, navigating being a single parent and all of the things that come along with that. And then that led into also navigating some financial challenges and beliefs. So those 3 areas, man, wow, I got things I can share about that.
So Katie makes it sound like that was easy, that, she didn't struggle. She's just like this battle queen, because she really is. Like, some of the things that she's been through, and with other friends of mine that they've been through, I'm like, how did you do that? And I feel like anytime she comes up against a battle, she kind of has like a silent freak out at first. Correct me if I'm wrong.
It's not always silent. If you really know me, you're like,
but she always has like, I'm going to handle it. And then she puts together like this whole strategy, system, framework to make it happen. Like, I was around you when you were dealing with Kale, your son, and trying to figure out all of that. And you basically became like a lawyer in that process with all your documents and like all the things. So what for you has been, out of all of those, your biggest challenge, your biggest battle? If you had to name one, because we all think when we're going through something that's the worst thing in the entire world at that time. But what has been your number one, and does that relate to you now?
Number one challenge for me has always been this kind of like freaking out to the point of, am I going to be okay? Is this going to be okay? Because if you really look back, every challenge in our life, like everything worked out for the most part, right? Unless we're dead. I mean, we're still working, we're still in the process, we're still growing. So for me, I think it was this lack of belief, and I had a lot of anxiety. And that's something I've really, through the COVID experience, seen firsthand how my anxiety has shown up in relationships, friendships, parenting, businesses, just like that worry, right? And so for me, it was probably this self-doubt, worrying about the future, or the two things. Because if I really looked at myself, it's like I always end up figuring it out and getting it done. But that initial, so much energy went into, oh my gosh, how am I going to figure this out? Is this going to be okay? That I would find myself saying to my friends, like, they'd be like, what do you need? I'd be like, just tell me it's going to be okay. And they're like, it's going to be okay. And then I'm like, oh, I'm okay. So kind of switched over is to learning to reprogram myself to, it's going to be okay. I'm okay. And I've had some really amazing coaches that I've been working with on that. So yeah, it's just inner dialogue more than anything that's been that challenge.
I remember you had said one time during one of our like mastermind meetings, you said, yeah, like I think all I need is just to record myself telling myself it's okay. And I'm just going to keep playing it on repeat. Like, Katie, you're doing awesome. You're going to be okay. That's all I need. And I still think about that sometimes.
And this is how much of a squirrel I am and how my brain works, that I'm like, that's a great tip. I should like do that. And it's like, oh, you said that. I'm like, I don't remember that, but I'm sure I did. So yeah, it's taking all that stuff and applying it over, man. So
yeah. You mentioned coaching. And I think this would be a good segue into how you personally reached some of your breakthroughs and how you were able to break up. So when I say break up with the bully, a lot of times we think that all the things going inside of us are someone else doing, saying, you know, we play the victim role. But when you really look at it, 99.9% of the time, we are the bully. Maybe the things that have been said to us in our past is playing on repeat in our head, but essentially we're the bully. So how did you start breaking up with the bully to lead to your breakthroughs in, you know, all those different areas, or whichever ones you want to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, so if I'm kind of looking at it linear, and our challenges and our struggles are kind of like an onion, right? Like we overcome one area, and then when we think it's the thing, the person, the circumstance, the situation, the addiction, the whatever the thing is, right? That's just the mechanism that really it's the belief within ourselves, or it's the story, the belief, the pattern we keep doing, and we kind of realize, oh, it's the same thing every time. Yep. So I'll go back to the first thing I said, which was more of that. I just was and I'm a recovering type A. It's like I am a perfectionist by heart. I'm always like, I really want to be a type B, but it's like, girl, that's not you. You're going to be a type A. You can just learn how to do it in a way that you're kind of in the flow more than things having to look a certain way. But when I went through treatment for my eating disorder experience, the biggest thing for me was the fact that I decided that I couldn't continue trying to do it myself, and that because I wasn't accomplishing anything and I was carrying the battle alone. And one of my best friends, Danielle Dellen, said to me, well, what if it's just the fact that you decided to say yes to really overcoming this, and you kind of threw your hands up and said, I can't do this on my own. Like, what if it's that easy? You know, because I was like, I don't have enough time. I'm not going to be gone enough time. And she was like, just saying yes to, I'm all in on whatever I'm going to let go of or learn. So that was the first thing for me. It was like, just truly surrender.
Yeah.
Number two, go all in and ask for help. Right. And then I think the other thing that's been an incredibly humbling experience for me, even very much recently, is, you know, owning the fact that you can have the best of intentions and you can do your best. But when, for me, my anxiety was like, you know, I would get new information coming in and react, like freak out, react. So if you're a good friend of mine or you're someone in my life, it's like I kind of came across or I've come across in the past, like, oh my gosh, I just always had something kind of going on. And that can be draining, not only to myself, but to other people in my life, right? So I think what I had to get to a point where I saw, girl, you know, I'm exhausting myself and other people in my life. So there's been this pivot for me of new information comes in, take a beat, pause, slow down, don't react, slow down and just breathe for a second. Then kind of think about, okay, what's the action step? So I think for what I'm saying, to be clear, is redirecting my energy, slow down. And people would always be like, slow down, meditate, slow. And I'm like, yeah, theoretically, I love that. But that was like, yeah, that was hard for me, really hard. Because I'm like a squirrel. I'm like, go, 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 go. But the thing I resisted the most, which is slowing down and not being reactive. And guys, it's cost me a lot of stuff. It's cost me time, energy, relationships, like stuff where I look back and I'm like, well, no wonder that happened that way. I was leading my life with fear, right? What if this? What if that? Versus just redoing my brain a little bit. So did I answer your question?
Yeah. So with that, how did you get to that point? I know you've done a lot of coaching, so I'm guessing that that's probably one of them. You're a huge advocate of coaching, therapy, counseling. Like where
your breakthroughs go general across the board. How did I get there? Taking a very honest inventory of results, like look for the evidence in your life, looking for the evidence in my life of how are things going, and think, reflect, and looking back on what was my fear of an outcome in a past situation, and how much of that was an illusion in my own mind of fear and anxiety versus what was really happening. That was big.
I guess part of it is like coaching. Like you said, hey, I'm struggling with this, so this person has what I have, what I need, or they coach on the thing that I need. Like, how have you been able to find your coaches? Or because I think a lot of people struggle with that. Like, if I know that you're such a huge advocate of coaches, so am I. So it's like when you're struggling with something versus continuing to have that anxiety and the, oh my gosh, I'm not good enough, and the self-doubt and the anxiety, you realize how much time you're wasting, and it gets so exhausting and frustrating. So when you see someone that has what you want, what do you do?
Yeah, you invest in yourself, you invest in your future self. And honestly, my relationship with God, with my faith, with really praying that the right people, coach, person shows up is a huge part of that process too. Like giving up control a little bit to say, like, I'm ready for this, right? Because when we declare it, we say it, we put it into action, and then it shows up. So so it's recognizing I can't do this alone. We weren't intended to do life alone. And then praying with eyes open, heart open. And then when that coach, person, program shows up, book, whatever it is, to believe that it's going to transform you, right? To like in that mindset of, I can overcome this, absolutely, right? And then what's really cool is sometimes, and you and I have talked about this a lot, Meg, when we were like in the midst of going through a storm, you're like, man, I'm just writing my TED talk, man, this is just gonna help so many people. Like, I know I don't have anything figured out right now, but like, this is really gonna be an awesome chapter in my book, right? Like, just kind of find a little humor in the storm.
As you get through like a crying section, we're just like, I think that's huge. Well, and I think too, you know, this one of the reasons why I want to do the breakthrough series is I think that people don't realize how much like we go through stuff too. It's just not magic. It's not just like, oh, it bypassed you. No, but it's like, are you willing to use what's thrown at you, even when it sucks? Because I mean, there's no sugarcoating that. When it sucks, like, how can you take that and turn it into something that's going to help you? How can you take what feels like a never-ending boot camp where God's just like, you feel like God's just saying, okay, come on, you just got one more rep and then you are handed 10 more. Like, when's it going to stop? How have you allowed that to help where you're at now? I think like starting to think about how those things, the battles, how you've broken up with the bully and kind of getting into the breakthrough of who you're becoming now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what did that look like?
So let me clarify. So it's, how did you use those battles and those tough moments?
Mm-hmm. Like, how did it strengthen you? Like, now looking back, no one likes to say, oh yeah, I would definitely go through that again. But once you're on the other side, you're like, wow, I can see it from that perspective, the things that it strengthened in you now.
Yeah. So, you know, it's interesting. In the past, I would always look for the meaning, the story at the beginning of the hard time,
mm-hmm.
which I think that's understanding like, okay, at some point this will make sense. At some point it will. But I was always trying to get there first. I was always trying to like run before I would even like lay on, like sprawl out on the floor. I wasn't even ready to crawl yet. And I'm like, oh, this is going to make sense. And I think for me, the realization of allowing myself to feel what I'm feeling when I'm feeling it, to acknowledge this is hard, to own it, to not sugarcoat it, to not try to let everyone know. Like you and I talked about this recently, that it's like, let it be what it is, mm-hmm. right? And experience it so we can move through it. So for me, it was like, owning it when it's hard, and not trying to play it off like it's not. That's something I'm still working on, you know? So owning when it's hard, feeling it, and allowing yourself to really be in those emotions. When it's hard, cry. When you're mad, be mad, right?
Mm-hmm.
That way it's experienced, right? And then from there, breathing and slowing down my nervous system is something I'm working on right now, to not be taken so out of the present moment. That way I can navigate it. I can navigate it with a purpose, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Mm-hmm. And then what ends up happening is, hopefully by the time this experience has happened, I'm able to look back down the road and connect the dots of like, well, this makes sense. Now I have this experience and this tool. Mm-hmm. And that's, I guess when we say it like, oh, it's like A, B, C, D, it's not like that. Like it is picking up tools from different coaches and books and therapists, and just I'm like a student of my own life, not even life. It's like you're a student of your own experience.
Mm-hmm. Something I thought about from conversations that we've had and the things that I think we had backwards that might help other people is we, for a long time, thought that we needed more and more and more to achieve whatever, when in all reality, what we both learned is we need less. Like, detox, get rid of the stuff, go through your closet, minimize, think about the things that, whether it's friendships, people that aren't serving you, projects, your closet, food, whatever, start getting rid of things so you have more room and so you can be more present. Yeah. I think that doing that allows you the time to slow down a little bit in order to speed up. And I know that you definitely believe in that too.
Yeah, I definitely. I mean, it can be simple. It can be simplistic, and simple can still be, just because something's simple doesn't mean it's easy, right? But yeah, simplifying is huge.
Yep. What was that quote? I know you used to post it. Like, simplicity is the ultimate sophistication.
Yeah.
So true. It's so true. So, okay. So we've gone through the breakthrough. Who like after all the battles and after like the boot camp that's been going on to help strengthen you, who are you becoming now and who are you becoming in the future? Like speak to both of those. I think we spend so much time stuck in our past that we don't always fuel like who we're becoming. And what does that version of you look like?
Okay, so who am I now?
Mm-hmm. And who are you becoming?
Yeah, I'm a humble leader. Like I absolutely don't necessarily think that I've learned so much, and I want to be someone that's inspiring, and I want to lead women to really owning their business, owning their financial future, in a way that they're truly empowered. So I am a humble, empowering leader and woman in this world. And who I'm becoming is an advocate for anyone for where they are. Because I want to not just, what I get excited when I see the lights go off and when I'm working with someone, when I see that light go off in their eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And I've only learned, how to help someone through people that have helped me. Like it's literally a pay it forward life we're in. Mm-hmm. So I want to be in the future someone who is an advocate for helping other people help other people. Mm-hmm. And I see it happening, and it's been so messy. I'm sure it'll continue to be messy, but it's like I'm just picking up these skills along the way to help make this life roller coaster like just a little bit more easy to navigate. So,
well, I think you do that so well. I think that's one of your gifts is, I mean, we've had so many conversations about this and stuff too, but like instead of making it seem like you have all your stuff together or almost like putting yourself on a pedestal, you're like, girl, have a seat next to me. This is what I did.
Yeah, that's good. We're all linking arms together.
Yeah, like this is what I went through. There's no shame. There's no shame. Just do this. Just do, like, being able to break it down and taking the shame out of it and taking the almost like the feeling of not enoughness or not smart enough or whatever, those feelings out, and you're like, girl, come here. And I feel like you do that so naturally, and you take that out so that people feel heard, they feel seen, they feel like enough, they feel like they have worth. Yeah. And it's just reminding you as the coach and teacher to make sure that you're doing the same thing. Yeah. Because that's the hardest part is when you do this stuff, sometimes you're like, oh, let me just give it to everybody. And then, oh, wait. I got to do it too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's definitely something to be said about, because when I am in alignment and I've done that, like I've paused and I've pulled back and I've simplified, right. And I'm looking at things and it's like, I think I really believe in my heart that all people are, want to really help others. And we talk about self-sabotage and we talked about victim mode, and I think that lives in all of us to some degree. Yep. It's never fun to acknowledge when we're in it. It's hard to, right? And then we're on the outside of it. It's kind of like for us ladies in that time of the month, it's like we start feeling crazy, we're crying, we're like the world's falling apart, and then all of a sudden, this thing shows up and we're kind of giggle and we're like, oh yeah, that, I forgot. Like, how do I not know this? It happens once a month, every month for my whole life. I still don't remember it. And that to me is kind of how the anxiety, self-doubt, or victim mode can sometimes show up. Like you don't realize it. But yeah, girl, I mean, for me, it's like, I just want to link arms with people and be like, we can create something amazing when we shift these internal dialogues going on within ourselves. Which reminds me, in a sec, I want to share something with you that I figured out, saw, acknowledged recently that was like mind blowing. So I'll hold on to that for a sec.
Well, do you want to share that first, or do you want to share like what you want to offer to people?
Whatever you want. What do you want to
do? Share the thing first.
Share the thing. Okay. Yeah. So let's see. Well, two things. One, I realized recently that there has been, I was doing some deep, I work with this coach, her name's Honor. She has this amazing program that works with moms and really it's transformational work, but it's really around motherhood and kind of sustaining a family that you really, you're just present, right?
Mm-hmm.
So part of that present work for me was, I was doing this meditation and I realized that there was this part of myself, this little girl part of myself who's 7 years old and is basically, she's been this voice in the back of my head, don't forget about me, don't leave me behind, don't, just anxious and nervous and has a sense of I'm going to get left behind. Okay. Now, how that translates into who I am and how I show up sometimes has been this FOMO, this fear of missing out, this anxiety of just in I'm going to miss it. I'm going to miss out. I can't just do what I'm doing and trust myself because there's this little piece of myself going, don't forget about me. Right. It's kind of like talking to somebody about something or, somebody approaches you and they want to help you with something, but it's coming out of lack or out of scarcity versus out of abundance. I'm whole, I'm good, I'm all present, I'm here. It's I couldn't show up that way because there was a part of me that was really scared to get left behind. It was really, I say it lightly, but it was very, very a humbling acknowledgement. And I feel through the coaching, and even in the stuff when you and Derek are doing stuff and I'm listening and it's identifying these little pieces of us, right? That is so deep yet so simple that I just went, wow. And so what I've been doing is acknowledging to that little part of myself, hey, you're all right. I'm not going anywhere. We're in this together. And I'm isn't that funny that what I have to say or what I get to say to myself is exactly the same thing that I want to do. That's the heart of let's just link arms and all go together because I don't want to be alone. That's my nerd little girl just don't leave me alone. I'm I want to have this amazing experience and transformation and lift each other up together. So that was pretty powerful for me.
No, I love that because it truly is in a way, you're being your own best friend. You're not forgetting you. You're not betraying you. You're not when you treat yourself in a loving manner and you give yourself that space, you're not being the bully anymore. You're allowing that link that you want to have.
Yeah. You wouldn't tell Kale's 6 or you wouldn't tell imagine yourself at 7 years old. You wouldn't be that's ridiculous or don't, sit down. You wouldn't do that. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But we forget that, so yeah, it's pretty cool stuff.
But see, those are the things that sometimes everybody thinks that it's this big, massive thing that happens. No, it's the small monumental shifts that happen over and over and over again that are going to get you to a different place next year or next month or tomorrow that we all want to discount. And those are everything.
Yeah. And I am a believer in the concept that God and people, circumstances, things are pulled out of your life at some point to allow you to really stand up on your own 2 feet and to really trust yourself. And, if it's not quiet enough in your life, metaphorically, to hear that inner voice, well, it will be made quiet.
Yes. It
will be made quiet. So.
Well, I know, Katie, you are passionate about helping people, but I also know you're extremely passionate about helping women and men financially and getting their ducks in a row there. Is there any tidbits or tools or resources that you want to lead them off with, or even a call or connection with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So, funny enough, years ago, so my background is fitness and wellness, right? And most of the things we find ourselves coaching is things that we struggled with, right? Like we stumbled and fell and then thought we couldn't do something, and then we were able to learn how to. So absolutely. I remember years ago saying out loud, like, well, I hope I marry someone that's great with money, because I'm just not. Like, that was it. Conversation over. And I look back and I'm like, oh, wow, that's crazy. So financial literacy, like, I have stumbled and made mistakes, not understood things, made many mistakes. Oh my gosh. And realized that fitness and wellness is such a parallel to finances, right? It's 80% behavior, 20% logic. And so I'm on a mission to help people, women. Obviously, I have a huge heart for single mamas, to win at the money game of the rules that we're not taught. And so, yeah, if I could offer anything, it would be, I'd love to just share a very easy, where are you? Where do you want to get to? And just give some solutions of how to get there. Because again, it's like, I think there's such a parallel with fitness and weight loss and finances. And I think it really comes down to confidence. Like, nobody in the world who knows a little bit more than you or is quote unquote an expert. We all started in the same place. We've read the same books, or maybe you just haven't read them yet. And I think at the end of the day, it's like, what I can offer is really saying, hey, you're okay, right? You're not going to get left behind. Like, here's my story coming out. You're not going to get left behind. Right? Yep. So clear the FOMO. Let's set you up so that way you can feel amazing about what you're doing for your family and create a legacy that's pretty fantastic. And I also want to say that it's okay to want to create financial success. Well, success in life is how we live our life. It's the time we spend with our family. It's how we relate to others. It's all the beautiful things. And sometimes we think success is just that number, when really it's so much more than that. But I've been talking to some people lately, and the biggest message I have is, look, I know what it's like to lay my head down at night and really be scared about, how am I going to make this work out? How am I going to, if you're on your phone doing calculators all the time, you're writing down bills, you're writing down to-do lists, you're trying to win this game with a broken play. Right? Like, you're trying to play defense in life, and it's like, let's just play some offense, and let's lay the groundwork and flip your thinking and get an easy plan together. And it's amazing what can happen. So
when you said it too,
I'm happy to help with anything.
When you said it too, where hopefully you're not, I think you're stopped for a second, but I think that you said it perfectly, where you help people see where they are and then where they want to go. And basically you have to move through, like, where they're at in the middle. So whether or not it's with financing, whether or not it's, self-sabotaging relationships with me, the goal here is to figure out where you are and where you want to be and how we can bulldoze through those. So if you want to connect with Katie, send a message below. She will hook you up. And if you need help with relationships or self-sabotage in any other aspect of your life, let's connect. All right. Thank you so much, Katie. I think we lost connection. Hold on.
I'm coming back.
I just kind of segued. I was like, if you need help with this and this. Basically, I was saying that essentially what you're talking about is where someone is, where they want to be, and basically bulldoze through that self-sabotage in the middle, because doing the same thing over and over and over again is going to, again, get you the same result. So sometimes all it is having someone else outside of yourself and outside of your circumstance to say, hey, all you got to do is this. And you're like, oh, okay, I'm okay. And so I can help you do that. I can help you do that with relationship stuff. Like, we're here to help you get through self-sabotage.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest thing is just learning, like you're gonna, when you're getting coaching or therapy or whatever it is, it's like you're taking someone else's experience, and the thing to remember is, like, if you learn something and you try something new and it becomes your own experience, you kind of embed it into your being. and you're able to, because I mean, the concept is like be, do, have. So I get to be this thing, or I get, you know, be someone that's working on this skill, and I have to continue to do that. And then I get to have the desired outcome. And I mean, man, I just think we're all in it together, especially right now in the world. Everything that's not working is coming straight up to the surface. So if it's your relationship, boom. If it's your finances, boom. If it's your, you know, self-sabotage, whatever that looks like, man, we're in a crazy time. We're in the right time. We're in an opportunity. It's like the world is a magnifying glass right now, just saying, hey, let's look at what's not serving you any longer, and detox that. And yeah, painful, but so worth it. Oh my gosh, you know.
It's the big boot camp.
Well,
thank you so much for being on. I love you. You know that. Guys,
I'm so proud of you, girl. I love watching you and Derek do your thing. And I mean, it's just so powerful. You're doing amazing work in the world. And if you don't know Meg, she is 1,000%, 1,000%, 1,000%. She is who you see. And it's like, she just wants to help people be proud of who they are and love themselves and have the relationships that they deserve. So yeah, thanks, girl. This was so fun. Anything I can do to help. And if anyone watching needs any help, you know, reach out. And yeah.
Yeah, when you were on here, I was like, just send us a message. Put it below. But thank you so much, guys. Stay tuned. We'll keep having more people on. Thank you, Katie.
Awesome. Bye, girl. Love you.
I love you.